It's time for the Brown Sports Bag on WCLU, the official local sports show here in Glasgow and Barron County. And now, alongside John Butler, here is your host, James Brown.
Bit of discussion about some high school baseball, because we're going to talk about the game that was supposed to be played today that's not being played, and I'm not sure when it's being made up. Barron County was supposed to host Glasgow today, and it's the last set of district games for both of them. But that game's been postponed because I guess field condition, and it was supposed to rain some more today. We've kind of dodged the rain a little bit, but still they decided to yeah.
Thursday and yesterday was all day rain.
Yeah, that's right. So, that's one of the things that's the deal there. So I'm sure the field conditions weren't great considering the amount of rain we got over the weekend. Like I said, I was hoping to have an update on when they would be playing the game by the time we came on the air, but I've not gotten a text or seen anything yet. But they are still supposed to play tomorrow over at Richardson Stadium at 5:30. You'll be able to hear that game tomorrow on WCLU Radio, 103.1 WCLU Blue with Joe Myers on the call.
I thought at one time when they shifted to this where you play the series against each other, the Monday-Tuesday series, I thought the agreement was, in case of rain out, the makeup was on Wednesday. I thought that's what it was. Now, whether or not that's written or not, I don't know.
I believe that is the plan, and maybe the reason we just haven't heard anything yet is we're just trying to see what, if we were going to get more weather, what the field condition might be like, and I do believe that is the idea, is to make up that game on Wednesday, because that's what happened last week whenever Glasgow played Warren East, and the Tuesday game got rained out, and they played it on Wednesday.
That's right.
So I do believe that's the intent, because
that makes logical sense.
It does indeed. I mean, because the reason they go to this kind of series, and I like this, honestly, is so that you basically don't, if you have one pitcher, you don't pitch the one pitcher in every district game. It kind of gives you a more balanced idea of what the teams are, no matter who's on the mound, and that kind of thing. And I really like it.
I do too.
So, we'll see how it works out. Meanwhile, Warren East and Allen County were supposed to be playing today and tomorrow, and I think their games are still on for today and tomorrow. I've not seen them get adjusted yet. And the way this works out right now is the Trojans are 4-0 in the district. Glasgow's 1-3. Warren East is 2-2, and Allen is also 1-3. Allen and Glasgow split with each other. I don't know how the tiebreaker is going to work out. Let's say if it's chalk from here and Warren East sweeps Allen and Barron sweeps Glasgow. I don't know if they've gone to the run difference between them.
Softball has something crazy about runs given up.
Yeah.
Or score. I don't know.
In district games or something of that nature.
I'm not a fan of that.
Yeah, I have no idea what they've gone to for the tiebreaker. Every year I have to go back and look these things up, because every year and it may not change. It just may be that I can't wrap my head around that run idea in the district.
Can't either.
So maybe I'm just old school in some mental way, or just old. Anyway, so these games are pretty critical in terms of the seeding, because despite what happened between Glasgow and Warren East last week, Allen kind of showed that they aren't the 4-seed doormat they've been the last couple of seasons when they played Barron last week. Barron had to come back from, I think, 9-4 down in the bottom of the seventh inning to win on Monday night, and won that game 10-9, and then turned around and won the next night. I think it was 4-1 was the final.
Well, let's start with Barron.
Yeah, let's start with that one.
Then we'll go to Glasgow.
Yeah.
Yeah, Barron is 16-7, and won 7 straight maybe.
Yeah.
And 4-0 in the district, like you mentioned. And they only played twice last week. They only played twice the week before, too.
Yeah.
Those guys, we were talking off the air. When you got a good team, you want to play.
Yeah.
And and just playing twice a week in baseball is just not what you want, because hitting is timing. You ideally like play at least 5 days a week in baseball, where you get your timing down. So I know they're itching to kind of get into some type of routine and rhythm before the district tournament starts. But right now, because of weather, and there was a little scheduling where they had a little bit of break too, where they probably missed a couple of good days where maybe they could have played. But anyway, The game against Allen County Scottsville last Monday at Barron was just a tremendous comeback.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes when you're having when you have a special year or whatever, those types of wins, you see those in those.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it takes a special team to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And as you mentioned, Barron was down 5 in the bottom of the 7th to Allen, and Allen was getting ready to pull off a huge upset, and Barron roared back in the bottom of the 7th to score 6 and to win 10-9. So it'll be down 9-4 going into the bottom of 7 and win. You may do that 1 out of 100, maybe 1 out of 1,000, and it just takes. And Allen didn't make many mistakes, to be honest with you. They may have walked a couple, but it's mainly Barron hit the ball.
Yeah.
Gavin Coffey is, I haven't heard this often at any level. He started the inning with a hit to start the kind of the comeback back with a hit. He led off, and he ended the inning. The Barron batted around with a base hit to the walk-off base hit to win it.
Yeah,
which
right.
is so weird, So
he bookended the inning for himself, didn't he?
So he got 2 hits in that inning. It was 3 for 4, and of course when you come back like that, there's several things that go your way. J.P. Hyde tied it with a 2-out single, the 2-run single to tie the game at 9-9, and then Jackson Reese got a hit, made it first and third, and I think they walked. I'm trying to remember. Walked Sutton
on purpose,
to set it up with Gavin Coffey, and by this time, Allen had brought their best pitcher in.
Yeah, Eli Stamper,
who ended up pitching the next night too. So he's really good, but sometimes coming in cold in relief is not quite the same. And then Gavin Coffey hit the walk off to end it, and just an incredible comeback.
Well, and that's part of what I was getting at in terms of. There's no locks in terms of the seating in the.
Allen's capable with Stamper pitching to beat anybody, and he didn't even pitch that game to the very end. So they're more than capable of beating. Now Barron didn't play well early in the game.
Right.
They made
a lot of errors. I think they had 4 or 5 in the game.
Part of the problem that you're going to get into is when you play twice a week. Yeah. And they've been on this 2 times a week. You're not near as sharp, not just hitting, but sometimes defensively as well. That's why they need to play more if they can. Yeah. They get the weather to work out. But, Barron made uncharacteristic mistakes early that gave Allen, and Allen took advantage of it. But great comeback. And then Barron went the next night to Scottsville and won 4-1. And Cameron Crawford, continued his good pitching. He allowed 1 run, I think, in 6 innings, 6 strikeouts, and so Barron, 4-0 in the district, complete control of the district. They still have the 2 games against Glasgow. Obviously, if they went out, they're the number 1 seed, for what it's worth. And honestly, if they win, they split, they're going to be the number 1 seed because everybody else has 2 losses.
And they might be the number 1 seed anyway because Allen couldn't catch them, and the only other team, East, which could sweep Allen, Barron swept them. So they may have that 1 seed locked up already.
That's correct. So for that part, Barron is I think you texted me, too. They've broken to the top 25 in the state, too.
Yeah,
right?
They hit number 25 in that prep baseball polls.
Yeah, I don't remember. I don't know how long the high school baseball polls have been going on.
Right.
But that's the first I can remember Barron being in the top 25.
Yeah. I mean, the only other time that they may have even been close is when they won the region in 2007, but I don't know if that poll existed at that time.
I don't even know if that poll existed. That's correct.
Yeah.
Glasgow, on the other hand, they are 7-15, 1-3 in the district. They only played twice last week, too.
Yeah.
Losing. They got blown out by Warren East in the first game. Now, Warren East has a losing record, but they're a lot better than that. If you look at Warren East's overall record, it's kind of mind-boggling, to be honest with you, because they got pitchers. They got pitching depth, so it's really weird. If you told me, can Warren East still win the region, I go, yeah, they got enough pitching too. But they blew out Glasgow 12-2. And then in the second game, they shut out Glasgow 4-0. Glasgow only had 4 hits in both games.
Yeah.
So, that was a little disappointing from the Glasgow side.
Yeah, their struggles at the plate continue, and that's the biggest thing. I mean, the 12-2 game I thought was a little odd because
Glasgow's pitching's been good all year.
Yeah, and they have a couple of guys who are under 2 ERA in Evan Templin and Carter Hodges, and they didn't pitch either one of them in either game, which I thought was interesting. I don't know what the reasoning was for that, and maybe their ERA is deceptive. I have no idea. Meaning, maybe they've been pitching against teams that don't hit, but I don't think it's the case because Carter Hodges has pitched against some pretty good teams.
Their schedule's been too good. That's correct.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't think that is the case, but I did find that interesting, an interesting decision. I don't know if it was because Glasgow does not have the 3 seed lock. They split with Allen County, and as we just mentioned, we don't know how the tiebreaker works out, but Allen could wind up in the 3 seed. I mean, you just never know how that's going to work out.
That's correct.
So it's not like you're saving your top pitchers in case you see Warren East in the first round of the district or anything.
You
I
don't
don't
know
think.
who you're going to play. That's exactly right.
So anyway, it was kind of a rough. They Limley pitched well against East in the second game.
Yes,
they didn't get off to the hot start like they did in the first game, but Glasgow
didn't
still
score.
just cannot find runs.
Not consistently.
Yeah,
and that's been their, for the most part, their best wins have been 3-2, 2-1, things like that. It's been a struggle for them to score, but like I said, their pitching has been really good, and they still have some quality pitchers. But, against the good teams, it's hard to shut out good teams.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah. So, and going back to what you said about Warren East, their schedule is one of the tougher ones. And, yeah, I was going to say, it is like Barron's. They played some really tough competition. Obviously, they've played all the Greenwood, South Warrens, Bowling Greens, and all that jazz.
So is Barron.
Yeah, and so is Barron. And so they are – test the schedule and how they performed against it. I mean, they are two teams that are obviously, if they make it to the region, could be dangerous teams. And, they'd be the favorites right now to win in the first round of the district, those games, no matter what the matchups are, I would say.
I think it's fair to say that Barron and East, you can throw out East's record, but Barron is clearly top 4 in the region.
Yeah.
You throw the Bowling Green schools, never count out Russell County.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Barron's in the top 4 in the region, and I'm not sure Warren East is not too far back of that, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
If they catch fire because they got the pitching.
Mentioning that, going back to that top 25, I think South Warren was in there. They were like in the top 10. Greenwood may have been about number 10. Bowling Green was in there as well. And I think Russell County was in that top 25 as well.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was the usual suspects and Barron at number 25 there from the region.
Yeah, and don't forget in this region, I don't think they're as strong this year as they've been in the past, but Logan and Franklin are always good.
Yeah. Yeah, they're definitely dangerous teams. And you're right, they're not quite at the same level. I was hoping to see the Barron-Franklin game on Friday that got canceled. Was it on Friday? Anyway, the game it was a Friday before maybe that got canceled because of the weather. I was hoping to see that game.
Right.
They had played earlier in the year, and Barron won the game pretty handily. But Franklin's that kind of program that.
Yeah, they're similar to their football program.
Yeah, right.
Franklin baseball and Franklin football are always factors in everything.
Yeah, you can. They're like East. Looking at East's baseball record, you can look at the record, and it doesn't really matter.
Right.
Their talent's better than whatever their record is because they're probably going to play a pretty tough schedule.
Yes.
Anything else here on the high school baseball that you can think of?
No, it just, the weather is bad today, but hopefully by the end of the week it's starting to warm up and be a little bit drier. But like I said, with 2 weeks to go, teams, not just here, not just Barron and Glasgow, but teams need to play.
Yeah.
And they need to get that rhythm in. So hopefully they'll get a break with the weather because then you start to run into graduations and things like that. So that's the dilemma. The dilemma in spring sports is weather and dealing with proms, graduations, and distractions.
Yep. All right, this is Brown Sports Bag presented by McDonald's of Glasgow. We'll be right back.
Presented by McDonald's of Glasgow, it's back to the studio with James and John, the Brown Sports Bag.
Welcome back. James Brown, John Butler, presented by McDonald's of Glasgow. There wasn't a whole bunch of softball played last week either, John.
No, it wasn't.
We were supposed to have, Barron was supposed to have 2 critical district games, and they ended up with 1. The Allen County game that was supposed to be played Tuesday got moved to Saturday, and then that obviously got flooded out. And we don't know when they're going to make up this game. If I'm not mistaken, this is kind of the situation we had last year where they ended up playing Warren East and Allen basically like the next to last week of the regular season. They may have even played the Allen game in the last week of the regular season last year. And so we didn't really know the seeding for the district until, 5 days before the district started or something like that.
Yeah, not ideal.
No, probably not. This works the opposite of basketball. Basketball season, you start looking around seeing if you got to cancel some game. Well, used to, if you might have to cancel some games the last 2 or 3 weeks of the season because you've played so many. Now we're like, can we find some games to get in around the weather? I guess.
Yeah, it's it's probably my suggestion. If I could give a suggestion to softball coaches in general, is that since district games are important, they're based on seeding, then there should be an agreed upon, before all the starts going, agreed upon dates for makeups.
Yeah, that seems like a really good idea.
So these are the dates. You do it before you find out you're 6-18, or you're 12-6, and your best pitcher's not pitching, or whatever. I'm not saying anything that's happening, but those things could happen, where where sometimes it's difficult to work together. You set aside a day. This is the makeup day. Okay, and it may just be standard, and you may not want to play on Wednesday, but that's going to be the makeup day. It's going to be Wednesdays.
Yeah,
or whatever.
And it's, if there's any kind of thought between the coaches sometimes, well, they're just trying to milk this so it's better for them because they're hosting the game or whatever, whichever team it may be. You just eliminate any potential for ill will.
And you have schedules that are filled, too, and you don't want to call on another team from, say, North Hardin and say, yeah, I know we're supposed to play you on Thursday, but we got to cancel because I got to make a district game up.
Yeah.
Because that's not necessarily fair to them, because they may not be in that situation. So, anyway, Barron is right now, they're 4-1 in the district. Glasgow is 0-4.
Yeah.
What's odd about Allen is that with 2 weeks left in the season, they're just 2-0 in the district.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. They've beaten Barron and Glasgow. They have not yet to play East because of rain out, so they still got 2 with East, 1 with Glasgow, and 1 with Barron. And those are all makeups. So they've got 4 makeup games that they got to get in, and it's just unusual to be this late in the season. With only 2 games. East is 1-2, and they still have 2 with Allen and 1 with Glasgow.
Right.
So they got to get games in. So it's impossible to find out. Is Barron in the driver's seat? Well, Barron's not going to go below. They'll be first or second.
Yeah.
4-1, but Allen could easily go. They could go 6-0.
Yeah.
I mean, they're in the. They've not lost. So, it's just. It's really strange, and it's very muddled right now. And unlike baseball, and this is, we're in Glasgow, so you don't want to, I don't mean this to be ugly, but there is a competitive advantage to be first in softball.
Yeah.
Barron, Allen, and East are all arguably 3 top 25 teams in the state.
Yeah.
And Glasgow is they're 2-15, just very, very young. So whoever gets the first seed is in a huge advantage to get to the region, and whoever's in the 2 and the 3 seed will be a dogfight to get out.
Yeah, and it's kind of I'm sure there are districts like this all across the state that have this set up, and so I don't know. With that being an obvious point in terms of trying to figure out the makeups, then maybe there is some gamesmanship in trying to figure out if you are the one that's potentially in the driver's seat, you want to try to make sure that you make up the games in a window of time that may be beneficial to you.
Well,
I don't know how that is, because usually you don't have a bunch of different pitchers in softball, but
I can tell you one thing. If you don't get it made up, you get a win and a loss.
Yeah.
And, they got 2 weeks to get everything figured out.
Right.
So, and again, just like baseball, teams need to play. Barron only played twice, and they only played, I think, twice the week before maybe.
Right.
Barron went to Greene County and won 7-5 in 8 innings, and then got a great win against East, 5-2. Sorry, I'd like to give you stats, but their stats aren't posted, so I don't have all the stats. But that was a good win against a really good Warren East team. So that's 2 wins that Barron has over East, and that's a good win.
Yeah, the one there more people scored runs than this, but the one thing that stood out to me from both those games is I believe Katie Elmore hit a walk-off home run against Greene County, or not a walk-off, but in the top of the 8th, hit a 2-run homer. That was the difference in the game.
Great.
And then she hit a triple that just barely went over the head of the right fielder.
Against Greene County?
No, this was against Warren East that
okay.
drove in a run that was kind of an insurance run because East had scored right before that, and I think it was 3-2 at that point.
So that's good. So she had a good week. Well, she's signed with Campbellsville.
Yeah.
So she's obviously had a great career and so forth. But I did not know about the triple.
Yeah. So yeah, she had a good week. I mean, obviously.
We got to play on turf at Greene County, by the way.
Yeah.
It's all turf.
Yeah, which must have been an interesting experience. That may have been the first turf game they've played this year.
Probably.
But Shea Bogue pitched really well against Warren East. They threatened a few times, and she got the strikeouts. Defense made some great plays in that game as well. There were a couple of difficult balls hit to the outfield by East that I think Gracie Myatt made a great play on one of them, and maybe Lily Elmore made the other good play.
Okay.
So they made some great plays to go along with everything.
Well, they're 15-4, and like I said, normally this time of year, 2 weeks ago, they've got 19 games in. Sometimes you've got 20, 25, maybe 26. So they are behind in terms of games played and so forth. So
yeah.
Hopefully they get some games in.
One of the things this year that has happened is I think Glasgow had this experience, and maybe Barron has as well. Each one of them had where they would go play 2 or 3 games on a Saturday in one of those events that got rained out this year. And I think the same thing happened a couple of times last year as well. Those things really are a place where you can get in a bunch of action in a short period of time. And maybe there weren't even as many this year. I think we were having that discussion at the beginning of the season. But anyway, a lot of times you'll see they'll get in those Saturdays where you get in 2 or 3 games.
Right.
Kind of really probably get a feel for your team under pressure in a tournament situation like that, which if you're not getting enough games, then that's one of those things where you can make that up.
Mm-hmm. Glasgow's 2-15, 0-4. Now they did get a win last week. They got a win against Butler County, 4-2. So that was a good win. Kerrigan Hagan, the 8th grader, she pitched 7 innings, only allowed 1 run. So that was a team that needed to win.
Yep.
Because they've been competitive at times. So they got that, and then the end of the week lost to Hart County 14-3.
Yeah, that was a weird one because the score was 4-1, and then they had an injury and made a change in the lineup, and then the wheels just came off on them. I don't know exactly what had gone sideways there. Talking about the win though, that's something we'd been saying about them. They kept playing some close games. They just kept figuring out not to win the game, and they did a good job of that against Butler County. Butler County, I think, had the bases loaded or 2 runners on with a chance to tie the game there in the top of the 7th, and then they got a good play, I think, by Jakiley Green. She scooped a pretty tough one and threw the second to get the out there and kind of turned around that situation, and they were able to stop that run, and then
right.
Kerrigan Hagan got the last out there. So they figured out instead of figuring out a way to lose the game, they figured out a way to win the game, and that was something they needed. And I think we've seen this with them. They keep improving. We just don't know how good because first of all, their district is really tough, and they've played a pretty decent schedule outside the district with some other teams as well. I'm sure they were looking forward to playing that Metcalf game Friday because that was going to be a good benchmark. They had lost by a run when they played at Butler County. Kind of the same thing. They gave up a couple of runs late and lost that one, and they lost I think it was 10-3 to Metcalf early in the season. So it was going to be good to see how that worked out for them. They are playing today at 6:00, so they are going to play their game today, and you'll be able to hear that game on 103.1 WCLU Blue with Joe Myers on the call.
Okay.
So they are going to stick around and wait this one out. Anything else? I think one of the things that was interesting last week, South Warren went and played. They beat Henderson County, I think, 12-3. and they lost to Tecumseh, Indiana, or something like that, 2-1 in a game. I don't know how good that team is, but they must be really good.
I'd say so. Yeah, just holding South Warren under 10 is a miracle.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. The score of the game was more surprising than a team
Right.
actually beating South Warren because they've lost a couple of games this year.
Yeah,
But
probably the favorite to win the state.
Yeah.
Not the region, the state.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, they are a solid team. They're still rolling right along. Anything else on the softball
No,
side? You can
same
think of?
thing, just same as baseball. Just teams need to play.
Yep. All right. It's Brown Sports Bag presented by McDonald's of Glasgow. We'll be right back.
Presented by McDonald's of Glasgow, it's back to the studio with James and John, the Brown Sports Bag.
Well, John, it was a mutter run on Saturday for the Kentucky Derby. Is that what they call it? Was Sovereignty a real mutter? Is that what he was? Is my terminology off?
It's all right. It's okay. Yeah.
Some horses ran through the mud. Sovereignty won. Journalism finished second, John. I
Yeah,
was
ran
so
great.
disappointed in that.
But ran great. It's a great race. The two best horses ran 1-2. It was, I thought it was a great race, very exciting. Viewership was, NBC announced it, highest viewership since 1997, 21 million.
Really?
Yes. At the peak was 21 million. At the average was for the whole coverage was 18 million, which was 1/10 off the Final Four.
What's the theory behind the?
It's a world event.
Well, I get that.
They had 7 hours of coverage on TV.
Wow. Well, I guess yes, it's a world event, but it's been a world event for a few years now. With
Well, it always draws well. But,
Yeah.
But 21 million hitting the peak at 21 million, that's a huge hit.
yeah. So they didn't have a theory though as to why exactly this particular bump
Well, it's
was
always
more?
up. It's always up there in that 15, 16, 17, 18 million. But I don't know exactly what. I mean, I was participating in it, but I also taped it, and it's all the stories and all the things. It's NBC. It's like covering the Olympics. They're all in on it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's great coverage and so forth. But yeah, the 2 days, the Oaks on Friday and Saturday on that one went off great. There was weather was better on Friday, then it rained for the Oaks, but
Yeah.
no catastrophes, no injuries. The big crowd, and with the weather, everything seemed to go over really well.
So does Sovereignty have a chance to hit the next leg in 2 weeks? Is that when it is? 2 weeks, 3 weeks?
2 weeks is the Preakness.
Yeah.
It's almost automatically those horses go, though the connections said afterwards they're going to kind of wait and see. It's tough on a horse. They said they kind of were interested in a long-term, a couple more years of racing, and sometimes the Triple Crown could knock a horse out. It's a lot in a couple. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Very few passed on the Preakness. But the connections of this one and the trainer, Bill Mott, who's they tend to be a little bit more conservative. I wouldn't be shocked if they don't, but it would be somewhat of a surprise. Most of them, you only get one shot at the Triple Crown.
Right.
It's your 3-year-old year. So
Yeah.
it would be somewhat surprising. But it's actually the Preakness that oftentimes is an easier race because instead of having to beat 19 horses, there's 20 in the field and still having to beat 19. Generally, the Preakness is anywhere between 8 and 10. You don't have to beat near as many.
Right. Were there any surprises in this Kentucky Derby as to?
No, I mean the favorite was Journalism. He got beat a neck.
Yeah.
He ran, and the second choice was Sovereignty, and he won. So the favorite and the second favorite, they ran 1-2 or 2-1. So no,
Yeah.
it was
a chalky Kentucky Derby.
it was fun. I thought the best 3 horses ran 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
It's not fluky, I'll say that.
Yeah. No, there were no upsets, no surprises,
Well,
or really.
because nobody really got a bad trip, ride, or anything like that. It was. If you like horse racing, it was a great race.
Have you been paying attention to the NBA playoffs?
Yes.
Do you think the era that we've been in, that is the Kevin Durant, LeBron James, Steph Curry, Draymond Green, Kawhi Leonard, James Harden, is that era pretty much done? I know the Warriors won that Game 7 against the Rockets. not really surprising, I don't guess. Could have gone either way. The game wasn't very good because the Warriors jumped on them in the first quarter and never really
Is that
looked
era
back.
gone? No, not yet. I mean, the era is gone with those guys other than maybe Curry per se leading their teams.
Yeah.
You know, LeBron's 40, be 41. Kevin Garnett,
Durant.
Kevin Durant, I'm sorry. Kevin
That's
Durant,
all right. I'd rather just watch Kevin
he could
Garnett
pop
play
back- he
basketball.
he could pop back in, but he's got to get to another team. and be
Yeah,
like
the Suns imploded.
be like a second or third option.
Right.
You know, so in terms of being the lead, the Lakers have got to get a lot. They got to change the roster. I mean, to be honest with you, to go with Luka and LeBron. But yeah, you can see, those guys. Everybody that you mentioned is 35 or older.
Right.
So
I guess I've complained on here before about them eating all the oxygen in the room and a bunch of younger players really not getting that opportunity to rise to the top because they've stuck around at this point 5 to 10 years longer than in the past the NBA players would stick around.
LeBron.
Well, he certainly has.
Yeah, he is.
Curry's not that age, but I mean, even Kevin Durant, he's
35, 36, but he's gone through a lot of injuries too.
Yeah.
But he's not. I don't think he's near the players he used to be, and he shouldn't be.
No. I guess in terms of they've stuck around as far as fixtures that people will talk about as I am right now, really.
Modern day, it's just they take care of themselves better. To be honest with you, they don't play 82 games.
Right.
Some of them play half of that.
Yeah.
So they can play a little bit longer, I guess you could say. But, I'd say the days are clearly – they're on the backside of their career. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah, I do think this particular Warriors run is kind of interesting. It went to Game 7 against the Rockets, and I mean, as I watched the Rockets play, it dawned on me
they can't shoot.
Right, they just cannot score.
Well,
they're not.
They got a shooter, but he never gets in the game.
It's true.
That's third
Reed
pick
Shepherd,
Reed
yeah.
Shepherd, but he doesn't. His style doesn't fit.
Yeah,
evidently.
Yeah. I mean, they needed him instead of Jalen Green last night, but nonetheless.
Yeah, I mean, Houston is very good defensively and very, very physical.
Yeah,
but they don't shoot it near good enough. And they do have an option, but he's probably not ready. Most number 3 picks don't go to a number 2 seed.
Right.
They're playing on bad teams where they get a lot of action.
Uh-huh.
But it'd just be interesting to me if Houston will ever give him. They drafted him for a reason, but his style doesn't really fit with that team either, so it's a little confusing to me.
His future would seem to be not with the Rockets because he needs to be with a team where somebody can get him the ball. I mean, but even though he's a good ball handler, he could play the point. Going back to his style not fitting the Rockets, he'll have to be with a team that's probably more free-flowing offensively, that kind of thing. I mean, the Rockets were pretty brutal to watch offensively.
Right.
Because, I mean, they knew they weren't a good offensive team. That's why they were so focused on defense. And then that didn't work for them at all in Game 7.
Well, until they couldn't score enough.
Yeah, right.
I mean, they actually held Golden State to under 100.
They
couldn't score.
The first half reminded me of like 1996. It was a grinding first half.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it wasn't until like a little run there, I think, by the Warriors.
The difference, though, in 1996, teams threw it inside.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Rather than just drive it inside and try to knock down 18 people.
Yeah.
There was actually a post player in there, but so that's the difference. But yeah, the Warriors. Jimmy Butler's Jimmy Butler's a heck of a player. I just despise how he acts to get what he wants. He just basically sabotaged Miami to finally to get them to trade him, and I don't have any respect for that. But on the court, he's a really good player.
Yeah.
And Draymond Green. So they got some players that, it's just hard for me to cheer as much as I like Curry. It's hard for me to cheer when I see some of the things that Draymond Green gets away with, things that nobody else can possibly get away with.
If he had dyed his hair red and had a Bulls emblem on top of it, in this case like a Warriors emblem on top of it, he would be Dennis Rodman. In terms of he's not theatrical.
He's a better overall player.
Yeah, he's not as theatrical, but the things that he does less for the camera, but he does it all like within the confines of the game, but he does all the dirty things you could ever think of.
Yeah.
And so he does those things. But I think. Do you have a favorite at this point that you would like to see win? Is it?
See win. I don't know. I mean, I like how Oklahoma City plays.
Yeah.
But I like Denver too. I mean, the Joker's fun to watch. I like
He
him.
is.
I don't know. I don't know if there's just a favorite team per se. I don't know. I mean, the Knicks are interesting. Their style of play and so forth. But no, I mean, there's nobody that that I'd walk 10 miles to watch. I don't see that.
I will tell you, when I was watching the Timberwolves, I was fascinated by the impact Julius Randle has had for them.
Yeah, he did against the Lakers.
He did against the Lakers. Now, I don't think what surprised me was I don't think he really had that impact during the regular season, and we've seen him do this before when he was with the Knicks.
Well, he bullied the Lakers because J.J. Redick decided to play 5 small guys.
Yeah, I mean he did indeed.
For some reason.
So I don't. Yeah, right. That's what I'm saying. I don't know if the impact continues into the next series.
Yeah.
Probably not, because nobody's going to let Julius Randle do that to them again. I don't think.
They go from the Lakers, the smallest team in the league, to Oklahoma City, arguably the biggest team.
Yeah. So I mean, that run's probably over with. But it was fascinating to see him beat up on the Lakers, and for them to be absolutely incapable of guarding him, which I thought was just absolutely fascinating, because he had that year with the Knicks, and then he got to the playoffs, and it was a completely different animal.
Yeah, but it's a lot of it's matchup.
It is
just flat out matchup. He had he had Austin Reeves guarding him. And Austin Reeves probably was giving up 75 pounds.
Yeah, it was. Maybe J.J. Redick needs to go back to podcasting after some of those coaching decisions.
Well, I think he learned a lot, to be honest with you. I mean,
yeah.
I thought he had a great year coaching until the playoffs, and he made a lot of. And you're going to get second guess, but not subbing out any in the Game 4 loss was kind of weird.
Yeah.
I can understand not taking LeBron and Luka out, but why you don't take some of the other 3 out, I don't understand. And so that didn't make sense. And then he didn't play a center at all in Game 5, not one time. And they got crushed.
When Rudy Gobert was out there like Wilt Chamberlain.
That's correct. So, it's a little.
What do you have, 27 and 22, I think is what it was.
He was a little stubborn, I'll say that. And I think he was very critical after the game of Luka. He talked about that. Yes, players got to get in shape, improve, and probably goes for him too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even if you don't have a center that you can put in the game that can really do anything for you offensively, at some point in time you need at least a big enough body to keep Rudy Gobert off the boards or something.
Well, the center they had, Jackson Hayes, was very similar to the centers that Dallas had.
Yeah.
That Luka could get in the lane and just throw it up to, and they could dunk. They could do that.
Yeah.
But why they chose not to, I don't know.
I know, it was fascinating. I still think the Celtics are actually going to win the title. I think they're going to go back to back.
We'll find out. What is today, May 5th?
Yeah.
By July, will these things finally be over with? It's the longest. First round should not be best of 7. It should be best of 5.
Yeah, they need to go back to that.
These games.
At least 5.
Give them some urgency.
Yeah.
Because Golden State in Game 5, just after they got behind, they were up 3-1 after they got behind by Houston in the first quarter. They just pulled off. I mean, that was just a waste of time watching that game.
There are games, and
they're throwaway games.
Yes, exactly. Out of 7, 3 of them are worth watching, and the other 4 are not.
That's correct.
And it does, like you said, sense of urgency. It takes away that sense of urgency, that seeming competitive to try to grind out every point.
Like Game 7s and like NCAA tournament games.
Yeah.
Win and go home.
Yep. So anyway, that part gets pretty old when it comes to that. How the Reds? How are they holding up here, John?
The Reds are just.
They're 500, right?
They're right at 5. Somewhere right there. Yeah. Nobody in that division is running away with it.
No.
I think the Cubs are in first, so just not much going on.
Yeah, we're in the dark days of the baseball
not
season.
Days. Dog days are in August. It's just early and just it's hard. The Dodgers are good. We knew that. Colorado's awful. We knew that. The White Sox are awful. We knew that. So, but the Cubs are having a better year. Judge is for the Yankees he's hitting .430 right now. He's incredible right now. So We'll see. You know, it's early. I think the Reds still have an opportunity to win the division and make the playoffs.
All right. It's the Brown Sports Bag presented by McDonald's of Glasgow. We'll be right back.
Presented by McDonald's of Glasgow, it's back to the studio with James and John, the Brown Sports Bag.
Welcome back. We got some quick tidbit news here before we get out of here. One is former Barron County golfer Kyle Shirley has been named the new boys golf coach at Greenwood.
It's good job. They generally have good programs.
Yep, and he played at Murray State as well. So I mean, he's got a good career behind him. I think he still goes. He used to still play some of the amateur circuit stuff. I don't know if he does that. Jalen Crane has been named to Kentucky Juniors All-Star team. Okay. That's in that Kentucky-Indiana All-Star.
They scrimmage the seniors?
Yep.
I don't know. Do they play the Indiana juniors too, or do you know?
I don't know. I was trying to find that out. I don't know if they do that or not. I think they did that at one point, and then maybe they quit. I have no idea if they still do it. And then we had a couple of signings last week. Joshua Decker signed with Berea to golf and play basketball. So congratulations to him. And then Russell Williams from Caverna signed with Campbellsville-Harrodsburg last Tuesday. And then about 10 o'clock on Tuesday night, Campbellsville's Board of Regents released that they would be closing down all of the undergraduate programs at Campbellsville-Harrodsburg after the fall of 2025, but that includes all athletic programs. So I don't know what that means for poor Russell now.
Wow. Probably looking for a new place.
Yeah, I mean, I've never seen that before.
I haven't either.
It was just now, they historically did not have their own athletic programs there. They started doing that about 10 or 12 years ago.
Is that in Pennsylvania?
No, that's in Harrodsburg, Kentucky. It's a subsidiary campus of Campbellsville University.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, so I think they basically used to be like an associate's degrees in nursing, maybe some teaching-related stuff.
Mm-hmm. And they had their own sports team.
Yeah, they had their own basketball teams.
I did not know that. Okay.
And they actually had been pretty good. They'd been in a national tournament, I think, in 4 consecutive years.
Okay.
Now, they play, maybe it's the NAIA Division II or something. Okay. I don't know exactly what it was. But, yeah. And so their coach, who had been there for 6 years, and he's looking for a job now. His name's Austin something. I don't remember his last name. But, yeah. So that was a bit of a shock. I don't know what's going to come of that. And, it was the interesting thing was the fact that apparently they had that Board of Regents meeting in the evening and finished it somewhere around 10 o'clock at night. And
they didn't give anybody any heads up, did they?
No, apparently they knew. It's one of those where it felt like they knew they were doing when they went in and didn't want anybody to know that until it was too late to say anything about it.
Right.
It smacked of that.
Seen those before.
Yeah. Now I do, from what I understand, several of the people were going to have an opportunity to at least do the JV at Campbellsville University, the main campus. I don't know whom all of that includes, what sports, that kind of stuff. So, yeah, rather fascinating turn of events. Anything else in the 10-bit news you can think of, John?
No, that's watching some hockey.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Playoffs?
I watched the Game 7 last night I think it's Winnipeg. St. Louis, yeah.
Yeah, it's the Blues and the Jets, right?
St. Louis was up 2 goals with 1:30 to go, and Winnipeg scored with 3 seconds to tie it and then beat them in double overtime.
Well,
3 seconds left.
That was an exciting game.
Yes.
All right, it's Brown Sports Bag presented by McDonald's of Glasgow. Thank you for that NHL update there, John. Presented by McDonald's of Glasgow. We'll be back next week.
You've been listening to the Brown Sports Bag on WCLU. Be sure to join James and John again next Monday at 4 for another edition of the Brown Sports Bag.